All right. Well, all right. I'm live now. Bye. Yo, everybody. So we are going to do an activity tonight, and hopefully we can all play nice. I pinned in the top of the chat, guys, that we aren't going to have any sort of BS tonight. We will not be talking about anything, say, related in the chat, please. If we're talking about anything essay related in the chat, you can be blocked, and then we'll unblock you after the situation is over the live. So what we're going to talk about here for a little bit before Aussie gets here and our game loads. We're exporting the game right now, guys. So what this is going to be, you're going to need two things probably for this thing. You're going to need some tools. This is going to be an interactive deal now. So what I need you to do is get a paper and a pencil, or, if you've got a secondary device that you can do on your notepad or whatever, go ahead and open that up too. There's the wonderful Aussie. So hello, Aussie. Welcome.
Hello everyone, and please make Bart welcome, because I invited him over. We don't have to have the exact opinion of things. If anyone's disrespectful to guests or each other, please, mods, you know the deal. That doesn't mean if Bart's disrespectful, he's not going to get booted. I'm just saying, give the guy some respect, unless he doesn't show it. I'm pretty sure he will, though. He's a respectful fella. So hi, Bart. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Welcome. So what we want to talk about before our game is our exercise, rather, is finished exporting. What we want to talk about is this 2-minute window, right? Everyone's like, well, Benny, what's a 2-minute window?
Oh, Benny.
Yeah.
Hang on, before you go there, I said I'd test you on this the next time we went live. So here's your part of the game. Aussie.
Aussie.
Oh, failed. Oh, man. I told you I was going to trust you. But one. Aussie. Watch the chat now, Ben. Watch the chat.
Hold on. Let me see. Chat.
Autumn's
Aussie,
got it
Aussie,
on his
Aussie,
rage.
Aussie.
Woo! Oi. That was supposed to be your response.
Oh, okay. Oi. You got me.
Wow.
You MFer you. Hey, Bartwan. Oi.
Do you see what
Welcome,
I mean?
sir.
Everybody knows. Even people from New Zealand, America.
Well, I'll tell you, my family is from Brazil. So my dad is from Brazil. So we've got different. We got some different stuff going on. But what I thank you again, Bart. Hi. I appreciate you coming over. Aussie says great things about you, and so I automatically respect Aussie's. I think Aussie's on the level. So what I want to do real quick, guys, is I want to show you.
DC rocks, man.
We want to talk about how long do we have to talk before the game is exported?
Yes. Sorry, keep interrupting.
How long? All right, so guys, what we're going to talk about here before our game is ready is I want to talk about. We want to talk about this 2-minute window, okay? we've got the 2-minute window scenario that Candace said, it was just 2 minutes, right? So where the hell is the house at? Where the hell is the house? Hold on. You know what? I did put in Churchill. Ben Hill
Come
Road.
on, Benny, get your rig together, man. Get your rig together.
I'm sorry. No, it's Beach Creek. That's what it is. It's Beach Creek.
It's Beach Creek.
Creek Road. Okay. There's our house right here. Now, what we want to talk about here for a little bit is I've always got to get acclimated this way. So, looking at it from the bottom of the hill up, right? So, what we know is we have this 2-minute window where Candace is like, she was just out of my sight for a couple of minutes, right? So, what we want to talk about is this is this here. This is the dog path, correct? Right in this area. So what we want to talk about is the dynamics. How would that look? How could it look? Because we know right here, if you look down here, right here, the elevation at the top of the hill right here is 1370. Down here on Ben, let's see here, 1384. So it's down in a little holler, and then it comes up the hill. This is the highest point right in here. And then down to here, it's a considerable drop, right? It's 15. So what you have is a 15-foot hill right here. Now, what me and Aussie were kicking around behind the screen, behind the backstage, was the fact that, I think the layman thinks, okay, well, if the dog trail was a scenario, you'd have to be parked down in here somewhere with your car. And then you'd have to, in the span of 2 minutes, you'd have to run up this hill, go over, run up here, come around, grab her, make your way back down, all that in 2 minutes. Now, when you break it down, how it the other probabilities, there is the distinct probability that if this area was used and she was abducted from the house here legitimately, someone could have came up this road, been dropped off, and yada, 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 and spent some amount of time in this area around in here. It's very thick, very thick. Spent some time in this area, and what we want to make everyone aware of is that they could have been in this area for an amount of time, an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. They know that as long as it's before 4:45 or 5 o'clock, around in that time span, that Don's not there. So essentially you have Summer there. I guess now we see vulnerable, and it's just females there. So, you have a scenario where it isn't a 2-minute abduction, right? They could have waited over here, anywhere in here, until they had a good opportunity. And to run from here to here and then back with the child could happen in far, far, far less than 2 minutes, right? Now,
so what we were kicking around is something that happened out at my place in the span of 2 minutes, and I wanted to tell the audience about what actually happened at my place in the span of 2 minutes.
Please go ahead.
All right. So, first of all, my property where I live is very similar to this. We're at the end of a dead-end road. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're 35 kilometres from any major town. We have poor reception for mobile phone, and I use satellite because we have poor reception for anything else here. And we just spent $2,000 at Telstra to install some bloody extra equipment so we can have our mobile phones working. So I'm in a very similar setup with as the Wells family, but also my property is separated by a road. So where the house is about 20 feet, 30 feet, probably even 50 feet lower than where the farm actually is. So we've got an orchard on across the road and up the hill. We've got an orchard up on the top of that plateau. And when someone's up at the orchard yelling out, we can't hear it down here at the house. But if we're down here at the house yelling out, they can hear us up in the orchard. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we also have a dog that barks incessantly at freaking everything.
Right.
So when the dog's barking, nobody pays any attention. But he does have a different bark. When there's something there's his usual I'm just barking to make noise bark, and that we ignore. But he does have a more urgent bark when there's something he's really trying to get our attention for, and it's generally snakes, strangers that come out here, stuff like that. So that's when we'll actually go out and check what the hell he's barking at. And that's only one dog. So if you got, then you're probably just going to ignore them like we do, unless they have that, urgent sort of bark that we do. And, he doesn't do it very often. So when we hear him do it, we are on alert. But the reason we got the dog, rewinding back in time, was one day, my friend who lives here with me, he come home from the beach at about 6:30 p.m. and these two guys followed him all the way from town to our house. They sort of knew who he was. They weren't total strangers. They knew him from being up the club. Apparently they'd played pool on the table up the club. Any Aussies out there know how we do competition sort of thing, and you don't necessarily know the person that you're playing against. They chuck a coin on the table for the next game, and so that's kind of how they knew each other. But anyway, he knew the guy that followed my friend. He knew that the guy that owns this property had passed away, so he thought his son was living out here by himself. That's what he thought. So he followed him from town out here thinking he lives alone, and beat the living daylights out of him out here in our shed. That's where my friend parks his car, in the shed. So he's come in the driveway, parked in the shed. This guy's followed him in the driveway, parked outside his house, and run into the shed. And before my friend even had time to shut the car door, he was getting out, they just beat the living daylights out of him. And then I could hear the commotion inside, and I thought, what the hell's going on? I thought maybe he was having an argument with his missus. So I sort of opened the door a bit so I could hear a little bit. If he was having an argument with her, there's no way I was, getting involved. It's their business, not mine. It was a male. And then I was like, holy crap, what the hell is going on? And then I could hear the punching. And that was when I was like, shit, who's in the shed? I don't know who they're punching. I can't see in the shed because it's just on dusk. I can see the two vehicles, but I can't see who's in the shed. Plus also the shed's 3 bays. And so the first bay is where my friend's car was. The second bay is the paddock basher. And the third bay is the tractor. And so those two vehicles were blocking my view to who they were bashing on the ground. They had him on the ground, and they were standing up straight and then lunging down towards the ground, like full body weight punches into who. And I'm like, holy crap. So I stepped outside my door. What the F is going on out here? And they both stopped what they were doing. And they spotted me, ran to their car, and the driver ran in front of his headlights. Fucking idiot. Because then I saw, who he was. I didn't know who he was. I just saw, I saw enough to describe who he was. Jumped in the car, reversed out the driveway. I didn't get the number plate, but I got a description of the car and the driver. And off they went. So I go out to the shed, and I'm like, please be Roddy. No, don't be Roddy. It was just if it was a stranger, it would have felt better. But if it was my friend, it was just like a horrible thought. I just didn't know who it was that they were beating in our shed. But it ended up being my friend. So So from the time they pulled in the driveway to them running out again was 2 minutes tops, right? And they had time to beat the fucking crap out of him.
I've pulled up a little information. So what we have here, this was, let me pull another one. Okay, so you can see, now this is 50 yards. Now this is definitely also coming down that embankment. So I've pulled this up just as a reference. So an NFL receiver and cornerback would run essentially the distance, this distance here, in about 5 seconds. Okay. Now, you would have to imagine that whoever would be the abductor would have utilized these woods in some fashion. I mean, there's almost no way that you could, right? So what you have is a scenario that even if you were to, you have to imagine that whoever did this was in at least good enough athletic shape to make it up that hill, right? So now, of course, this person isn't going to run a 4.440 or a 4.840. This person is going to run, even if they run a 20-second 40, it would take about. Now, you have to imagine you're going to go in lighter than you're going to come out, right? You're going in with just your own body weight, and you're coming out with the body weight of a child, which is 40, 50 pounds. So your entrance in was going to be quicker than your getaway, right? It's downhill from here. This is on a ridge right here. This is down in a bowl, right? So yeah, you're coming up from the road, but it's a bowl, and then you come up to a ridge back, and then back down the hill. So your downward descent is always, you're with your own body weight going downhill. Then you have to pick up a 50-pound package, come back up the hill, and then back down. To me, that starts to look like the path of least resistance. Now, I know nothing about these areas here, but for another reference, to the road is 120 yards. So no matter how you kind of shake it, you're house the back door area, it's give or take 20 yards, but it's about a $1.25, $1.40. So for reference, for anyone who doesn't know how big that actually is, that's about a football field in almost a half. Not a crazy distance. It's very wood. Look, very secluded. So, there are a lot of different, hold on. There's a lot of different options that right? But all of them in distance are not crazy.
You're cutting out, Benny. I don't know if you are for everyone else, but you are for me.
Yourself right now, although what?
You're cutting out, Benny. Is Benny good for everybody else, or is he cutting out is it just me? Hello, am I here?
Probably because I have the Google Earth.
Yeah, probably. Okay, you are cutting out for everybody.
Yes, you're here.
Right. Well, it's way freaking slow, man.
There. That should be better.
Yeah, Google Earth does take up a lot of resources, bandwidth, etc.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, we got you back now. It's definitely the Google Earth stuff, hey?
All right, I'm back.
You're back. You're sounding good.
Okay, cool. So, guys, that'll give you just a little reference, a distance reference as far as what you're looking at. Although there is that very rugged terrain. Once you're with child and you're headed back to the vehicle, you're running down for a majority of that portion. So, you guys, you understand how. But thank you for that, Dee Dee. You understand how that works. So, how are we looking on the cognitive bias exercise?
ETA 8 minutes, so we can probably just start talking about what that exercise is going to be about, if you like.
Okay, guys. Now, please, I reiterate again that so that you don't miss out on this. Really, once Aussie. Now, I want to also preface this by saying that I do not know the contents of this activity. I am completely unaware, like everyone else. This exercise is long in the making. This was supposed to have been months ago, even for a different case. So I'm very, very fortunate to have Aussie who took the time, the extensive time, to put this together. So yes, you will be graded, but you don't. Now, this is the deal. You can privately keep your own score, or you can keep your score privately and publicly so that we all know what you got going on. I think that either way is good. Okay,
Well,
Chair,
I'll
go
explain
ahead.
what the scoring. I'll explain what the scoring bit is about as we come to it, and why we're going to be scoring ourselves. And you don't have to disclose your score if you don't want to. This is a self-assessment, and so this is why I typed into the chat just before that this is a game, not a weapon to beat each other over the head with. So don't be sitting here taking note of what people type into chat as their response in the game, because it's not about us assessing other people. It's about we're assessing ourselves. We're assessing
Correct.
our own ability to think critically, and our own logic, and what impacts
Right.
our own logic. And if we understand how that impacts us ourselves, then we have a better understanding of how that impacts other people that we might not agree with. So that's
Absolutely.
the
We
object of the game here.
like any sort of good tool. This is hopefully going to sharpen Q. This is hopefully going to sharpen everyone's skill when it comes to doing what we're all here doing together, right? So, of course, this psychology, this tool you're going to be learning tonight, you can weaponize it in a way, and that's not to do. We're not trying to have anyone walk away with this tool and use it in a way to weaponize it, like she said, and beat other people over the head with it. That's not what this is about. So,
So if I catch anyone using this exercise as a weapon in comments, I will boot them from Benny's channel. Remember, I have the power, and
yeah,
that includes paid members. Okay, so don't be looking at what people type as their responses to anything, because and I
yeah,
want
troll
people to
someone with.
interact and type their responses.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I want people to interact and type their responses, but I don't want anybody to be using it as any kind of weapon. That's not what the exercise is about. This is a self-assessment game, okay? It's just a game.
Yes, we are going to preface it that it is for entertainment, but you guys are going to see how it applies to physical life, right? So it is going to be essentially all the real supporters and the real believers that are here. If you fall on what would be considered the wrong side of this exercise, then we use this as a stepping stone in order to make those fine-tooth adjustments so that we can be the best that we can be when we maneuver through this stuff, guys.
Right. So let's start with a few months ago, CrimeCon was in your hometown, Benny. Well, not
Yes,
your
it was.
hometown, not exactly near, but it was in Texas there. which place, where was it again? I forget the name. But at CrimeCon, so a guy named John Lorden, now you might all be familiar with John Lorden's name. He was actually the web sleuth who appeared in the Netflix series about Lisa Lamb and the Cecil Hotel. So I'll add some links to the description after the stream if you want to learn more about what John Lorden was talking about. He gave a lecture in ethics at CrimeCon, and he was speaking from experience because he got dragged into this Lisa Lamb stuff at the Cecil Hotel. And while everybody on YouTube was doing it, for some reason, he copped the worst backlash from it. And so he's done 3 videos on what happened with that Netflix documentary. He's done one video called "What Did I Do to Morbid?" and "What is a Real Web Sleuth?" and "Analyzing Risk in True Crime Content." So they're all very good videos if you want to go and look at them. Like I said, I'll put them in the description when we're done here. There's also at the end of all of that, and only just recently, Mike from Profiling Evil interviewed John Lorden about the blowback from the Cecil Hotel Netflix documentary and how it affected him. And that's all very good to watch. So I will also include that link in the description when we're done. So that's basically the game that I have put together here is based on John Lorden's lecture that he gave at CrimeCon.
Yes, I'm excited, guys. And in fact, we were supposed to have utilized this back on the Cash Gurnan case, but that was such a, I don't even want to talk about that. That one really hurt my heart, and still I have, a connection to Monica, and it's still just a sore spot for me. I hope that once his trial starts, whenever that is, I will be attending the trial. So, I'll at least have some audio sound bites to bring back with updates. But I intend on
JW, you don't have to be familiar with that case to participate. This is just
not at all.
Part of the concept of having ethics, all right? And what ethics is just a very small part of that, of
yes,
our push to have some ethics in the true crime community. So
this is not case specific.
Right, you didn't have to see anything on John Lorden. I just thought that would be interesting for those who like to, research and work out what things are related to what or why, why we talk about them. I'm just going to put the links in for everybody who's interested in going that step further. But you don't have to know those cases. Basically, what we're trying to do here is about, essentially, true crime is best approached without bias. And so what we're going to do is we're going to explore 3 types of bias that and this is the whole idea here, is to show that we all have our own biases. And so we're going to explore those biases with some games generally. And the idea here is to understand how bias impacts critical thinking and our ability to see logic. Okay, so it's just a personal assessment for you to do yourself. And so the scoring system that we're going to use is really just a percentage. We're going to start with, how accurate do you think you are at telling if people are lying? And then we're going to show you some people lying. And then we're going to get you to say whether you think they're lying or not. And then you'll add up your score. And then at the end, we'll give you some video snippets of professionals, not myself and not Benny, but professional psychologists and people who work with children and so on, to explain to you what your score means in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so
right. How to interpret it.
Right, how to interpret it for yourself. We don't want you to interpret to us, because the intention is for you to discover your own biases and how they impact your critical thinking skills. It's not for anyone else to point it out to you. It's not about embarrassing anyone. It's just self-discovery, basically.
So, guys, I think it's important to know, right? One of the synonymous words with biased is prejudiced. Now, prejudice is one of those really, it's an epic word, right? Because prejudice stretches many bounds, many boundaries. You could have a bias against one particular tennis shoe brand or another, and you would be essentially prejudiced. So prejudiced, it's hard that word is synonymous, but I think that it's important to show that the realm in which biased are, right? So biased, you could even say, well, what would be synonymous with prejudiced, Aussie? Could you stretch
Well,
the meaning to prejudice to
in the
racist or racism?
no, I don't want to go that far, but is part of it, I guess. But I would like to
Yes.
just put it in perspective with the Cash Gernon case. Like, you had a hindsight bias originally, where people were saying if Monica did this, or this, then she could have prevented what happened to Cash. But what we found out about that perpetrator is that he was doing this to other kids. He was looking
Yeah,
for a kid
he was set to
and had
go.
threatened another kid. Right. So having that hindsight bias wasn't going to change. He was going to do it anyway, whether it was going to be Cash
He
or
was
someone else's kid.
right, and he was atypical in the way that I guess there was some ramping up of his behavior, but more or less his behavior were nonviolent offenses. And so then there
Right.
was just this, what's important about nonviolent offenses is that typically what the protocol is that someone that is just a petty thief or whatever, they have a hard time looking at that person as a suspect because of the major leap in suspectology, right? So when the suspectology
Sorry.
is just, go ahead.
Sorry about the bling bling. The bling bling is
Oh,
telling you that the video is sort of ready, but
yeah,
I'll just
when it
wrap it up
comes to
now.
trying to identify suspects that aren't clear, that's when the properties of suspectology come into play, and then it becomes more of a scientific, statistical type investigation, where you start leaning towards or looking at the stats. Are offenders of this nature currently or in the past, so on and so forth. So it is a dynamic thing when you start talking about bias, because bias can be created by taste, touch, sound. All the senses are capable, and those are the things, a majority of the time that we use to create physical world bias. Or we have a situation in life that was perpetrated on us, or around us, that had maybe physical characteristics of that person. So we have we have sometimes more reasons to have a bias than not.
Correct. So let's explore some of the biases that we do have. And what I will do now is share my screen so we can kick off. As I just said, we're going to explore types of biases. Hang on. Let me get
Is this the
there.
beginning of the exercise?
This is the beginning of the games. Let the games begin.
Here we go, guys.
All right. So in part 1, we're going to start with 5 logic puzzles to test your IQ, or your detective, if you prefer. So we're going to start with social desirability bias, anchoring bias, and confirmation bias. And so these are going to be fun games, okay? So don't stress if you're not able to understand anything. They're cartoons, they're kiddie games, they're not, they're not major, they're not going to break your brain, all right? So don't stress about that. um, so so we're going to do 5 logic puzzles to start with, okay? Puzzles. And these are the 3 things that we're going to explore first. So before we actually do start, what I want you to do is get used to how we're going to do this, okay? I want you to type a 1 into chat if you think you will score well at these 5 logic puzzles. Okay, these are just like a crime scenario, who was guilty culprit, cartoons, nothing difficult. And type a 2 if you think you will score badly. And so have a think about how sure you are. Well, we won't put you on a timer.
1 second. They say
Have
we're
a think
having
about
an
how
issue. They say we're cutting out.
All right. Well, they all got the message. So
Let's see. I'm going to move closer
right,
to the router.
so yeah, maybe plug into the router if you can, if you know how to. That would help immensely.
I'm here. Put a 1 in the chat if it's better.
So, oh no, don't confuse things.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I want to say yes if it's better. I don't want to confuse the scoring that we just started with. So what we're going to do now is explore how sure you are about whether you think you're going to score well or badly, because it's eye-opening. I scored badly, so if that's any consolation, anybody out there. So your decision to type 1 or 2 might be influenced by the first bias, and that is social desirability. If, for example, if you want people to think you're smart, you may have typed a 1, or conversely, you don't want to appear like a smartass, so you may have typed a 2, or you just didn't want to appear either way, so you typed a 1.5. So, and that's a social desirability bias. So that's not for any of us to judge whether what you typed or why you typed it. But now I want you to type a 1 in the chat if you want answers to the logic puzzles after you have a stab, or a 2 if you want the answers at a later unspecified date. Okay, so type a 1 if you want the answer to each logic puzzle after you've had a go at it, or 2 if you don't really care when you get the answers. And we'll just wait for that. While we're waiting, I'll just move it on that we are ready to talk about the next topic. All right, so everybody says they want the answers to the logic puzzles after they have a stab at them. And a couple are saying not necessarily. Okay, so what we see here is anchoring bias. And the anchoring bias is, well, of course we want to know what the answer is. We're anchoring and answering the next question on whether we were right or wrong about the previous question. So, if we're right, it creates a peak feeling. But if we're wrong, it's either a negative feel, or for some people, it will help us to correct the next puzzle. So, rinse, repeat. So I'm just going to give you all a basic rundown of what anchoring bias is, which we've demonstrated right here. We have an anchoring bias. We do want to hear the answers as we have a stab at them. So, and here's a professional's explanation of what an anchoring bias is. I'll move us forward in the video. Oops. Yeah.
Now, the way I like to explain it is an anchor is like a bookmark back to a place that was helpful, relevant, or beneficial to you. You know, when you do read something in a book and you think, I must not forget that quote, carry on reading and you can't find it and it's gone. Almost like, forgive me, I fold the pages. But it's almost like a folded page in a book that you create a trigger and go back to what you want to generate that thought, that idea, or that state inside you. And that's the real thing about state control. That's where anchoring really holds. But let's dive into what an anchor is, because is it something of a ship? Well, keep something in place. But an anchor really is an association trigger that creates an internal response. We have them all the time, all around us. Our life is full of anchors. You say spiders, they might have an anchor about the time one. Then might smell fresh bread and it reminds you of 40 years ago about your grandmother baking bread at home, and it takes you back to being at the summer holidays around her house. Your anchors surround that fast track back to an event or response. But I don't think a lot of people realize, but a lot of phobias are anchors. You know, we can have a certain trigger, it'll take us straight back to that time that we created that event, that powerful, that peak event. And we'll have these certain triggers in our lives that will take us straight back to that. And we don't want those. Use anchors is in times where we need to perform, when we need to feel happy, which is generally all the time, every day, except no days. Who wouldn't want to feel happy every day?
So that's basically someone else explaining to you what anchors are, and I don't particularly care if you like the guy or not. It was just not me or Benny saying it, okay? The point of having these little snippets with somebody else saying it is, Benny copped back for saying he can't teach nobody nothing without qualification. So we're using videos from people who actually do have qualifications.
Facts.
And that kind of, that kind of backlash has to go towards, the people that we chose, or that I chose. Benny had nothing to do with it. chose
Facts.
To explain to us what these are. So, not our qualifications. Don't backlash us over it. Anyway, the thing that are facing here with true crime content is negative anchors. And so Benny's already talked about, the Crow case where negative anchors had caused that one to go awry, and innocent people, children particularly, to be dragged through, a particularly abusive sort of set of events. But I'm going to do now,
Life-changing events.
I don't know that life-changing events, exactly. What I'm going to do now is through another video where one of these sort of is discussed in a completely different context to true crime, just so that you understand what a negative anchor is. And also, the sound is crap, so if you've got your earplugs in, I will just probably want to maybe take them out for a second until we work out how to sound. But it sounds shit. No matter what I did to the audio on it, it sounded like crap. So but it's a very interesting story. It's a very good story. So let's go there and have a listen to that story. I forget the name of this lady. I should be crediting these people, but
today we're talking about anchoring. And to help you understand anchoring and its devastating effects, I'm going to tell you a little story, which is a true story that unfortunately didn't happen so very long ago. It's the story of the FBI and Brandon Mayfield. Brandon Mayfield was a lawyer in Oregon, and in his spare time he helped people who could afford the services of a solicitor. And one of the clients that he did pro bono work for was a known terrorist, and he defended him in a custody case. Brandon Mayfield also converted to Islam to meet his Egyptian wife, Nina. There's nothing wrong with that. But when fingerprint was found on a bag at the site of a terrorist bombing in Spain, he became the #1 suspect. The FBI followed him, tapped his phone, followed his wife, searched his house, and eventually arrested him. Now, Brandon Mayfield had 10 years, his passport was out of date, but his computer contained searches for flights to Spain and flying lessons. The FBI was so convinced that they had their man that they started building a case against him, and they had no problem doing that. But just to be sure, they got in an independent forensic expert who also confirmed that the print on the detonator bag was indeed Brandon Mayfield's. Things were looking pretty dark for him when, after 2 weeks of being incarcerated, the Spanish government came back and said, well, actually, no, we have found a 100% match on the detonator bag that was in Spain at the time, and we've got a pretty good case against him. Brandon was released with a significant sum of money, an apology, and insight into some of the major failings of what happens when we make decisions as a group, when we have an initial piece of information that we really, really want to be true.
Okay, so when you really, really want something to be true, it doesn't necessarily mean it is true.
Facts.
All right, so let me see where I'm up to in my notes. Where are we? All right, so this is where we're going to start scoring your results. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to provide, the good news is we are going to give you the correct answers after each stab you have a go at it. So grab your pen and paper to score yourself. If you answered a logic puzzle correctly, give yourself 1 point. And if you answered it incorrectly, don't give yourself any points. All right? Are we all following now? Ready for logic puzzle number 1? Are you all ready?
I'm ready. Like a big block Chevy. I do.
Okay, guys.
I got a big problem with one right off the bat.
You do.
I do.
So type the name of the person or see the little label underneath their pictures there. Which one do you think? Swimming
The
pool
guard.
guy, Bart one says.
The
You reckon
guard.
it was the guard?
Yep.
Right. Lizzie said it was the maid. Q says it was the maid. JW says it was the cook. Lizzie says it was the wife. She's not up there.
The guard.
Benny says the guard. Nobody else is saying the guard either. So isn't that interesting? Benny's all on his own over there. Benny, tell us why you think it's the guard. Tell me why you think it's the guard.
The cook was cooking. The maid was maiding. And the guard was cleaning the pool. His job is to be guarding, not cleaning the pool.
Right. Spot on, buddy. Let's get the answer.
Pie-yow! Pie-yow! I swear I have not seen this. Hold on. She just exported this from her. She just created this and exported it in. I have not seen a lick of this. But guys, that's what you have to look. That's what you have to look at, right? The things that don't make any sense. Like as soon as I saw the badge and the pool cleaner in his hand, I'm like, he is out of place, like a mofo, right? Like he does not. He's supposed to be guarding. Everyone else is doing their job except for him, right? So why was he not doing his job? That's what you move on to.
Right. So essentially give yourself 1 point if you guessed it right. And write it down on your little notepad because remember we're going to do something he scores a little bit later. So you don't
Sounded
need
like
whether
only
you got
Benny's
it right
got 1 point.
And no, Bart changed his answer to guard up. He said guard, so you know, people, you can score yourself dishonesty. It doesn't really, no one's going to judge you. Like that's not what this exercise is about. So,
but only you know. But if you got your real score,
right? If you got the answer correct, give yourself 1 point. We're doing 5 puzzles right now, so give yourself 1 out of 5. The next puzzle.
Hey, that's a Benny office.
Benny's gonna guess this. I already know. Benny, you're the teacher's pet.
Yep.
Okay, people, why does I thought right because it's Brazilian.
Yeah.
Why does Archie think she's lying?
Give them a little bit. Oi, 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 oi. You want me to tell them why?
No, hang about.
Okay.
Let him have a guess. Let him have a guess. Honest Rage says Brazilian language. Lizzie says it's a wax. It is a wax, actually. It's a type of wax, isn't it, Lizzie?
Yep.
Because her muff is showing. On your JW. It's all over Benny's head, this old Brazilian thing.
Heck yeah.
Benny, why do you think she's lying?
Because she would be learning Portuguese.
Correct. And it looks like a few people got that as well. So if you got that answer, give yourself
Beijo.
another point.
Cha-ching!
Well, Pansy, it's a good thing I only do cartoons here, isn't it? Pansy doesn't like the way you manhandled it. I knew you guys were going to be a good lot of fun with this game, so thank you for the
what
laughs.
you guys
we all need to laugh.
That was a fair representation of Brazilian women. Brazilian women are filled with the zest of straight from Jesus, right? So they are a hard act to follow, kind of like Italian women in New York, right? They're just, when a beautiful Brazilian woman walks into a room, and they're all beautiful. That's the thing about Brazilian women. When they walk into a room, they're magnetic,
So ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
Oh, here's the answer first. Just to show that Benny was correct.
Brazilians are residents.
It's not. So there you go. Benny's not the teacher's pet. He just needs an answer.
That's it. Who's they, sir?
Okay, guys.
I know why.
Why did Archie think I was lying? Benny, you're on the fucking ball, man.
Yeah, I already know why. And it's really,
Thank you, Cherry.
It's unfortunate because it's not anything. If I'm right, it's not anything that you saw. It was more of how he said it. Am I correct about that?
We'll see. He created the narrative, says JW. He told us as Wildflower, assuming, says Cheshire. I don't know. Paperwork versus computer from Random Squirrel. Has a crush on female, jealous of the guys. What?
I'm going to say that my answer is because he just started off immediately saying they. He said they in two back-to-back statements. And so then that's at the point where I was like, who is they? Because I don't think that regular victims don't know exactly who has, they suggest who they are because you're saying it's more than one person, right? The other people, like that's not random. Random is like you come home and you're like, I don't know who broke in. You don't start. Yeah.
Lizzie, you're funny girl.
Am I on?
No, well, we'll see. I'll play the answer in a second. I was just laughing at Lizzie's comment.
Oh.
She's funny. The two office guys are they to him. So a lot of people agreeing with you on the lingo and using the they. Go for it, Alicia. We are not going to stop you. All right, ready for the answer, everybody? I can suspense.
Locker was shut. Clark has the only key. If Jim and Daryl hacked the locker, they wouldn't be able to.
Sorry. So you had to actually
go ahead.
You had to actually take notice of the scenery in that one. In the scenery, when he went to look in the locker while Clark was telling him the story, the locker was locked. So you needed to look at the scenery in that one. So it was a trick question.
Gotcha. But so with the answer that I gave, of course, there's always more than one way to skin the cat, but not on that one.
Of course.
But you could have you still would have arrived generally by his statements and behaviors. I would assume that, of course. And that is
it was
the
most
yeah, it was a simplistic answer, right? We all made it real complicated, right? So you come off the back of another scenario, you're already loaded to be overthinking. This is how you're already overloaded to be over. And this one was a really simple one, right?
And part of this exercise, this particular one, I threw it in there because most people aren't probably taking much notice of the graphics. So I threw it in there as a curveball just to say, look at the graphics, okay?
Right.
Now, when we started this, I said, do you want the answers straight afterwards? Well, this is part of that anchoring bias, okay? So that was why I put it in there. It was because now you know that in the next ones to look at the scenery as well as listening to the story or reading the story. So it was a curveball for a reason.
Fine job.
So we're ready for the next one?
Hit me. He's not him.
Okay, who is it?
Is the gentleman with... He said dentist. The doctor told him it was a dentist. The other guy with no hair, he said a doctor. I kind of disregard he said after, when he said you can't prove, I kind of disregard that anyways, because the other guy, he knows it's a dentist, right? You know, I don't know if that guy is a dentist. No, that guy's a dentist.
Right.
So,
all right. So that's your answers. And a lot of people are agreeing with you. He didn't visit the dentist for it. Clearly he didn't. That's right. Like the janitor. Lizzie's cracking me up here. Second guy added too many details from Pansy. Natasha, how do we know it was dentist and not a doctor? Okay, so we're ready for the answer, everybody?
hit me with your best shot.
Cliffhanger. 7-second cliffhanger. So there you go. Give yourself 1 point if you got it right.
Boom. Shit. Can you play that back? I apologize.
Sorry,
I was trying to take
I was
our
on another
pictures.
screen.
Yeah, can you run it back?
Okay.
Sorry.
We don't need.
I was trying to move.
He's still going. He's going to the pizza shop.
There.
Okay, so we don't need to rewind. We haven't got to the puzzle part yet. So he's going to the pizza shop to get the story out. All right, you're all ready now. What we'll do is, if anybody's got problems with this, with the video streaming to them, we'll just wait here for a second if you want, and you can just leave and come back if that fixes it, because it does actually fix it for some people. Video being silly and sound and delay and all those sort of things. So just leave and come back and we'll wait for you before we go to the pizza shop. How does that sound? Benny, can
Yes.
you hear me?
I can.
Why are you in here twice?
So that I can go outside.
Well, you're echoing now. And going
So I
outside
can go
is going to fuck
outside?
up. Going outside is going to fuck up our stream. Like, that's partly why it's jumping and glitchy. Do you want a lunch break? Someone asked for a lunch break. Shall we have a lunch break? Plus, we're also echoing with two of you in the stream.
There we go.
So yeah, has everybody been and refreshed their connections? We ready to go? Sorry, Benny. If you want a break, we can take a break, because I think we've only got one left, or maybe two left. I can't remember
Go
which
ahead.
was the last one. How many?
Kidding.
Oh.
Nope, I'm okay. Go ahead.
All right. Benny. Okay, who was it? Who attacked the owner?
I'm going to be honest. I wasn't even paying attention with my dancing ass, so I missed the whole damn thing. But I'm going to go ahead and just go.
Get it.
You know what? This is exercise 2 right here. So I'm glad that I did that. And this isn't a setup. I'm going to poll the chat. Okay? I'm going to poll the chat, and I want to see if anyone, or if we've changed, made any adjustments since the front. So drunk, bartender. I'm seeing a lot of bartender. Waitress. He took pill with booze with the hooker. I had closed my business till it takes time. With overdose waitress. Well, it's a stab in the dark. I'm gonna go with the waitress.
I've closed my business.
Waitress.
You're gonna go with the waitress.
Yep.
Kathy says the manager last one out. Manager was last to lock up, says Everlaw. I'm sorry if I'm saying your names wrong. A Wrinkle in Crime says the manager. Random Squirrel.
Know the scenario, so that's good. Not tired, no. It does. Kate, the music, I don't know. It's the whole package.
Take that one.
Right? It's the whole package. So.
All right. So we're ready for an answer, everybody? Wow, ready to go? I'm going to tell
you, I'm making my answer based upon biased. I'm going to make my answer on this one based on biased. So go ahead.
And what was your answer?
Waitress.
The waitress based on bias.
Leandra waitress. He usually gets the short end of the shit. Waitress. Final.
Okay. All right, we're ready to go. Here's the answer. 7-second cliffhanger.
Good point, Natasha. Her arms are folded. That's a good point. Boom. You're right, Natasha. I saw that at the last minute. It was her body language, too, that gave it off. She was closed off. Like the Watts deal. Good job, Natasha. Good job. I am impressed. I am going to, Natasha, that is damn fine work, Natasha. Where'd her comment go? Where's that at? Where's it at?
Well, a lot of people said it. A lot of people said that she was the last one to leave and she didn't lock up.
Correct, Natasha. Yeah. Right there. So.
Gotcha.
The play that I like on that's it. Now, I don't know if that was coincidental or if that was built into it. So you had the waitress. She had her arm on her hip and one arm down. And the bartender, he had both arms down, although he face. I didn't see folded. So that is good work, Natasha, because she was like this, and she was definitely she had a more closed off body posture, and that's what we know about when you're faced with all that, you kind of just curl in on yourself and you get smaller and you just self-soothe. So that's damn fine work, Natasha. That's the way it would look in real life. I'm assuming that this body language was also it was portrayed that way to fit. So it's that was a pretty realistic. That was a good one, Natasha. I am because you know what? As soon as she said her arms were folded, I looked over, and it was before it started zooming in on her, and I was like, "Yep, it's her. It's her. It's It's the manager. Proud, Natasha. Fine work.
Good job, both of you. The point, I think, was that the manager didn't close the store.
Absolutely.
And you missed that part because you were walking around. So
Yeah, it was
all
beautiful.
right, dancing and shit. But anyway, we're at the end of those 5 logic puzzles. And when we first started, I asked you to tell us whether you thought you'd do well at it. Now you've got a score that will tell you whether you do well at it. And we're going to work it out in percentage. So take the number of correct answers that you got and divide them by 5 and times by 100 and tell me what your percentage is.
What the hell? Say, hold on.
How many
What'd you
did you
say
get
now?
right?
There were
Take how
6,
many you
right?
got right. There was 5 questions all up. Take how many you got right.
I got
how
3
many you
right.
got right.
Okay.
You got 3 right. Divided by, you get your calculator out, guys. Like, you don't have to do it in your head.
Hold on.
You got 3 right, divided by 5 questions.
3 divided by 5
times 100.
times.
Bart got
100.
80%. Far out, Bart. Good on you.
I got 60.
I got like 20. Benny got 50%.
Good job, Bart. I got 60. Yep.
Well done, Bart.
Well done, Bart.
If you don't
Thank you for participating.
If you don't have a calculator, tell me your score and I'll do it for you. 120% honest rage. That's because you got a Brazilian, right?
That's
Any
it.
ladies with a Brazilian 100.
That's the link right there. Boom.
Good. Very good. Very
All
good
just about-
music.
I fall in that Chris McDonough range. So, you know, hell, look what he's done. I should be all right.
We're going to visit this next. What does that range mean? Okay, so this is the next sort of part 2 of our little game playing here. So if anyone wants a cigarette, now's the time while we're talking about this. And coffee breaks or lunch breaks or whatever you're asking for, do it now and we'll give it a few minutes till you come back. So I waxed that Brazilian, just saying, can't stand the bush. Okay, so I'm glad you like it, Cam. Benny and I thought it was actually a good time to, you know, cheer up the moment, get off track for a bit, learn something while we're at it, because there is going to be, you know, some more stuff to learn. I'm just going to warn you, the very last puzzle is going to take some basic math skill, all right? And I say basic understanding of 2 times 2, all right? Like basic math skill. So I'm just going to warn you all up front. If you don't want to play that part of it, that's fine. You don't have to, but I'm just putting it out there. The very last thing that we cover will be some very basic math skills. And we'll ask you before we play that whether you think you've got good or, you know, shit math skills again. So, but right now we're looking at your percentage for your logic IQ. And if you scored around the 50% range, then you're just average, right? So, and we're going to explain to you in the next couple of games what average actually means to detecting lies and detective and things like that. So, oh my God, people are cracking me up, hey? Lizzie's got a wicked sense of humor, really. Well, this is third grade maths. This is going to be third grade maths quiz. Q is my uncle, so. Okay. You know what I was going to do, Benny? Actually, just on random squirrels comment, I was actually going to ask you, like, I was just going to be sarcastic about that petition they put out about trying to get you cut off. I was actually going to ask you, like, Benny, how do I get my Ambien into my beer can, man?
You swallow it first. Hey, I just want to say one thing. If you've not went over and signed AB's petition to have me removed from the internet, please take a moment after this and go over there and sign that petition and support that young man in his plight. Okay, go ahead.
Just read the comments. The comments are hilarious because like cracked me up from like start to end. Benny, you got 6 kids. Where you fucking hiding them, mate? 6 kids.
In pocket.
I thought it was pretty funny. I actually sat there, believe it or not, I sat there for about 2 hours reading the comments. I went from A to Z on the comments and shit over there. And that was something else we were going to do, Benny. We were going to get you to ring Plano PD to come and arrest you because apparently you're a wanted fugitive in the state of Texas.
Hey, I'm no longer John Q. Citizenry.
The funny thing about that is we got a video of you actually walking into Plano PD to fill out a freaking complaint form.
I got about 5 of them.
Actually,
Oh, shit.
all right, so everyone's had their lunch break. Are we ready to jump into part 2? So part 2 is going to be about perception skills. So this is whether you can tell a liar. So part into 2 segments. It's going to be whether you can tell if a child is lying and whether you can tell if an adult is lying. Everyone's still getting on the funny train. Are you ready to move on?
Hold on, let me see. Hold on.
Do we want to keep the funny train going for a bit?
Hold on.
Ford daughter. Oh my God.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Hold on.
It doesn't need
Lizzie, you ain't shit. Hey, why don't they just come every time I'm on? Hold on. Oh yes, the seeds.
All right, let's move on now.
All right.
Well, we're ready to move on, guys.
I don't know.
All right, Grandma's going to get a hit and stick out in a second.
Oh, I'm silly. I'm feeling really silly, guys. I'm glad because I pressed for like a month. This
I know,
is just...
and you know, a lot of people have been saying how stressed they've been over this case, and that was the reason that we decided to do this. Like, we need a good laugh. We need to have a good laugh about things, and just clear our minds a bit and understand, next to what's going on in the background. So, and I'm glad it's been fun for people. So that's awesome. So we're ready for part 2, perception skills. Can you tell if a child is lying? So I'm going to ask you all first. Can you tell if a child is lying? Type a 1 into the chat if you think that you can tell if a child is lying.
Oh, that's a good one. Now, can I ask a question? Is it your child or is it just any child?
Any child.
Any child. Okay.
If you've got a child, then you're probably going to think, well, I've got a better chance at telling if a child is lying because I know when my kid's lying. You know what I mean? That's part of, I guess, what creates your bias and how you're going to answer this question. So,
right.
if you
Yeah,
think
you've
you're
got to
going to
work
be good
through
at
that.
telling if a child's lying, type 1, and if you don't think you're going to be good at lying, then type a 2.
Oh, I'm going to go. These damn kids these days, I don't think I know anymore. So I'm going to go 2. I don't think I can tell when a kid is lying. Now, 3-year-old, yes. But now that's the other thing. What age range are we talking here? Like, are we talking 0 to 18 or what is it?
No, we're talking young
Adolescents.
kids. No, young kids. We're
Okay, young
talking
kids.
between 5 and 10. Between 5 and 10.
Okay. So I'm going to go. Yeah, I don't think I can tell. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I can tell when these kids are lying. These kids, they're a whole different breed.
All right.
So,
Let's move on from that
are
bit.
you about to watch the video? Here, I'll move it.
Do you want me to pause?
Plug the,
Are we pausing? All right. We're just waiting for Benny to sort out the fam.
2.
2, Benny.
Huh?
2, Benny.
Yep,
We're going to
2.
take 2. Okie dokie. So we're ready to go now?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So we have been playing guessing games with children all over the world. So here's an example. So in this game, we ask children to guess the numbers on the cards. And we tell them if they win the game, they are going to get a big prize. But in the middle of the game, we make an excuse and leave the room. And before we leave the room, not to peek at the cards. Of course, we have hidden cameras in the room to watch their every move. Because the desire to win the game is so strong, more than 90% of children would peek as soon as we leave the room. The crucial question is, when we return and ask the children whether or not they have peeked, will the children who peeked confess or lie about their transgression? So I'm going to show you 2 videos. In the videos, the children are going to respond to a researcher's question, did you peek? So try to tell me which child is lying and which child is telling the truth. So here's child number 1. Are you ready?
Did you peek? No.
And this is child number 2.
Did you peek? No.
Of course. The rocket
Did
scientist.
you peek?
He's the liar.
Did you peek? No.
He looked down like the answer was in his lap. That's me. Rocket
So
science.
type it into the chat. Join in.
1 or 2. I'm going with 1. 1 is left, 2 is the female.
Yeah, we want the number of the child who lied, number 1 or number 2. And we are going to score this again because we did ask you whether you'd be good at doing it or not. And this will be the segment where we understand what those scores actually mean. So I'm going to turn my kettle on. So if you hear a noise, that's what it is.
He said BK Jr. If I ever lie, it's to protect somebody's feelings, not to hurt them.
Read out some of the responses, Benny, while I mute for a second. I like Lacey's response. Lacey says, girl's body language lined up with her. Sorry, it's off the screen already.
Sorry.
It's Lacey. Boy closed his eyes. Girl's body language lines up with her answer. Yeah, that one. I thought that was a good answer because that's what I picked too.
It was like even when she shook her head, you know, she didn't break eye contact ever. She was locked in from the question to the answer.
Cheshire, that question, Duper's Delight. I actually am pretty sick of hearing that Duper's Delight rubbish. But I do understand where people can see that. Okay, are we ready for an answer?
Hit me.
He's hunching, she's straight. He does have deepest light. Looks like my I missed it. Sorry, guys. Things are moving off the screen so quickly, and I can't scroll the chat because I'm only a text.
Jessica said he just looks like a damn liar. Oh shit, that's funny.
That's right, advocate. You got to use it sparingly. There's specific occasions where it's applicable.
Hey,
all right. So
Seymour.
I'm going to go and
Seymour. This is a good answer right here. Now, I would not be surprised if they both lied, but good answer. I'm going to go with Mr. NASA.
So Benny says number 1 lied, and we have a range of answers in there. That's a skilled liar. Both lied. All right, here's the answer coming up.
Voice stress analysis.
Okay, so as a matter of fact, child number 1 telling the truth. Child number 2 is lying. Looks like many of you are terrible detectives who use lies.
Okay, so same exercise, different children, and these children are a little bit older, and a different game, obviously, different people doing the experiment. So, let's see how we go with these children because they're a little bit older.
Wow.
Or is it younger?
I am.
So this is how you can answer.
We're going to show you 4 different kids answering a question, and you have to decide whether they're lying or telling the truth.
Each kid is told that if they have
I think they're
balls in
younger.
the basket, they will be given $5.
Younger.
But just before they start, the experimenter finds an excuse to leave the room and asks them to stand behind the line and throw the balls into the basket at a time. So these kids are now alone in the room. So the incentive to cheat is pretty high, but little do they know the scientists have placed a hidden camera in the room.
The question when they got back was, did you cheat? And here were their answers.
Nope.
Okay.
I tried the ball once.
Could you tell which ones were telling the truth and which were lying? Try again.
Nope.
Okay.
I tried the ball once.
Okay. Type the number that you think was lying. Number 1, 2, number 3, or number 4.
Damn. Oh, let's see. Start the timer.
Start the timer.
Turns out that kids 1 and 2 were telling the truth, and
One.
kids 3 and 4 were lying. But in fact,
I've been
80% of kids over the age of 4 lie in this scenario.
wow.
Did you get
I've
that?
been wrong.
80% of kids.
I was. That's insane. Wow.
It's an interesting exercise, and I've got to admit again, I failed this one as well when I first went through it. Having kids and grandkids, I thought, I'm sure I know I can do this.
Yeah, I'm
So I
failing
was a little bit
miserably.
overzealous. Yeah. Voice stress analysis on the kids, wildflower. Yeah.
Wildflower. Very fine play on inside joke. I like that about you. Moving on.
Moving on. So remember, if you got it right, you were giving yourself 1 point. If you got it wrong, you're giving yourself 0 points.
Man, I'm 0 for 2 right now.
Yeah. All right. Type a 1 in the chat if you think lying is bad. Type a 2 in the chat if you think contrary.
2. 2.
I'm going to refer back to Lee's TEDx in a moment. He actually does explain this to us. So we're ready to hear whether it's good or bad from a professional, because I'm not going to tell you whether you're right or wrong. Not my place.
Let's see it.
Whoops. See that?
So as you can see, lying is really a typical part of development. And some children begin to tell lies as young as 2 years of age. So now let's take a closer look at the younger children. Why some, but not all young children lie? As in cooking, you need good ingredients to cook good food. And good lying requires 2 key ingredients. The first key ingredient is theory of mind, or the mind reading ability. Mind reading is ability to know that different people have a different knowledge about the situation, and the ability to differentiate between what I know and what you know. Mind reading is important for lying is because the basis of lying is that I know you don't know what I know. Therefore, I can lie to you. The second key ingredient for good lying is self-control. It is the ability to control your speech, your facial expression, and your body language so that you can tell a convincing lie. And we found that those young who have more advanced mind reading and self-control abilities tell lies earlier and are more sophisticated liars. As it turns out, these 2 abilities are also essential for all of us to function well in our society. In fact, deficits in mind reading and self-control abilities are associated with serious developmental problems such as ADHD and autism. So if you discover
Atypical
your
spectrum.
2-year-old is telling his or her first lie, instead of being alarmed, you should celebrate. Because
Correct.
it signals that your child has arrived at a new milestone of typical development.
So did
there you go.
anybody catch that, guys? He's saying you is that when you start catching your child in lies, that it's initially a very positive thing, because that means they've reached that next stage of development. Now that's where some of the things we spoke about this the other night, but it's where some of the things that we would ordinarily typically think for adults are very negative, bad things. For children, it means the next level of development, and those things are like this, cognitive deceit, normative sex behavior. There's quite a lot of things in essentially again, if they were adults and they're using this tool for the bad, it isn't a new stage of development. But as a child, when they learn to is a positive, in that they're at the next stage. It's like they won't.
The important thing to remember is that adults are far more experienced at lying. So when Lee was just telling us that you have these ingredients and the ability to read and the expertise, like the 2-year-olds have a lower expertise at reading the room, so to speak, whereas the older kids had a higher ability to read the room. Am I being believed? So now we're at the point where we're going to look at some adult lying. We know now we're talking much more experience at those ingredients.
Correct.
All right, so we're ready to play the next part. So you should have had 1 point for telling if the NASA kid and his girlfriend were lying, and you had 1 point for being able to tell whether the 4 kids were lying. So now we're going to do points on whether you can tell adults are lying. So type a 1 in the chat if you think you're going to be better at telling if adults are lying, or a 2 if you think you would be bad at it.
1 all the way. All the way.
So remember that they are definitely more professional at lying than kids.
Correct.
The facial expressions and the unsaid body language. The adults are far more experienced at things than children are. So if you didn't see or hear kids 3 and 4, just give yourself a 1 point for it, just to make it fair, okay? Are we still breaking up? Is this a problem? Is there just some people where we're still breaking up?
I don't know. I think that there's some people that are behind in the stream and they're answering in the chat the issue.
Right.
Yeah, we're having some sort of tech issue right now.
So anyone who is behind in the stream, please leave and come back so you can catch up, and we will hold off the next part. Now, if you're getting breaking up, if we're not a smooth stream for you, leave and come back. If any other technical issues are occurring, please leave and come back, and we will wait for you. We'll give you all a couple of minutes.
I'm going to refresh.
Generally does. What are you doing?
I'm going to refresh.
If anybody is up to date, can you
There.
tell me if I am clear or not, or if it's me that's breaking up? It possibly could be, because I know I've used up a lot of my data. Yes, Pansy. Unless you're him, then just leave.
Yeah.
When I'm playing the videos, it's happening. Well, I'm playing the videos to Benny, and he's the one streaming to you at Benny's end, and he's refreshed now, so we'll see if that fixes problems.
She said we're clear.
We're clear. Oh, I'm clear. Yeah, cool. It's Aussie at times for Kathy B. Did you leave and come back, Kathy B? The videos are breaking. You are next to your Wi-Fi, aren't you, Benny?
No, I had to go. The baby's sleeping in there next to the router now, and my wife is watching TV, so I had to come to the garage.
Ah, that might be why we're breaking up. We're not near the router. And there's a wall between you and the router.
Yeah, hold on. Let me, I'll go ahead and try to sneak in here real quick. We'll have to wrap it up, though, I think, because the old computer is getting pretty warm.
We're not even up to part 3 yet.
Well, we
Do you
might
want to
have
break
make
it up?
Yeah, we might have to break it up to a part 2.
All right, so we'll do the
let me sneak in here
adults
for a
and then
minute. All right, go ahead.
All right, we'll do the adults and then we'll wrap it up and get them to come back and play part 3 of the game on another one. Yeah?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. All right, people, we are ready for part 2 of Can We Tell If an Adult is Lying?
When I was in high school, I was the mascot, and this was actually a huge accomplishment because we had to write a day to become the mascot. So I beat out a lot of competition to do that.
Last Valentine's Day, my boyfriend took me on a whale watching trip. It was 3 hours, and I puked the entire 3 hours.
It's still skipping. Hello.
Hello.
It's
We're
the
skipping
video's
for
still
you.
skipping. Video skipping.
Do you want me to replay it? Type a 1 in the chat if you need me to replay it. Looks like they do. We will replay it. Are you ready? We'll give it another shot. It might have to be me who refreshes.
Yeah, I think it is.
Play it. All right. I'll give it another shot, and if it's still skipping, then I'll refresh. Here we go.
When I was in high school, I was the mascot. It was actually a huge accomplishment because we had to write an essay to become the mascot. So I beat out a lot of competition to do that.
Last Valentine's Day, my boyfriend took me on a whale watching trip. It was 3 hours, and I puked the entire 3 hours.
Was that any better?
No, but I understand what they're doing. So, who's bullshitting? Well, I'd have to say the one on the left, the darker complected gal. Just
So
based upon
one for the first lady or 2 for the second lady. 1 for the first lady, 2 for the second lady.
It did skip out, guys. But what I gathered was that the number one,
while you're doing that, I'm just going to refresh. Right?
All right.
I'll be back in a sec.
Okay. I think it was number 1, guys. The lady on the left, because she gave out a whole lot of information. You know what I mean? Like she just really fed a lot of information, and that's typically, that's the template for, when someone gives out so much information. A lot of time, exactly. No one writes essays, right? They're just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That lady was really just feeding it in. And, again, a lot of times we miss context because context is huge, right? So all these are just cold. They're just kind of cold reads on the fly, right? And so what happens a lot of times is when you get different media that pops up during these cases, they will a lot of times, you'll have speech analysis that is geared or kind of biased towards one thing more particular than the other. So, for instance, I've been exposed to media and statement analysis and behavior analysis that states that someone that gives so much information is typically being deceitful. Now, I've also heard the contrary, but there's a lot of different reasons why someone would give less information. For instance, if they want to plead the fifth and get their, they want to get their attorney involved, then you have different motivating factors for why people are quiet. But people that talk a whole lot, they've said historically, people that give you too much detail, the devil's in the details. So I'm going to say number one.
I'm ready to share my screen again, Benny. Okay, so we got our answers from everybody. We're all up to date. We're ready for the answer as to who's bullshitting.
Yep. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Liar. I don't know. It's really
Get it
skipping.
right.
No, it's really skipping bad. I couldn't even do a fair. Yeah, I couldn't even do a fair assessment on that one. Why don't we just break right here? Because we're at 2 hours right now. Let's break right here, and then we'll pick up tomorrow with. I'd like a chance to see that one. The one before it too was kind of skippy too, so I wasn't able to give the kids that were in the 4-pack. I wasn't able to give them a good assessment either because they were skipping around. All I could do was hear it. So we should start back at the kids tomorrow with a new stream and then push ahead.
Radio, and I will. If we make it your morning time, it will be my off-peak data. So it might actually be my data because I'm pretty sure I've used it up.
Yeah.
It could be my data just doing weird shit. I mean, it's not fucking around with my voice, but that's because I don't have any video associated with my voice.
Right. Maybe even it's a scenario where you should send me the video, and I can play the video from this end, and maybe that's how it needs to go. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I do know that
we'll do that.
Okay. My computer is it's hot as a pizza pan. So
radio. And
so
my
okay, guys.
Starting to heat.
Yeah.
It's probably not helping any.
No.
So all right. So there's three more adults to go through. So if you want to start it back at the kids tomorrow, then that's like probably going to be another hour, I guess, for the stream. So we'll make it through your morning. How's that? Everybody happy with the morning for the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think that'll work good. We can shoot for kind of mid-morning or 10 or so. So that'll be perfect.
All right. Your 10 a.m. is my I don't know, 10 p.m. or midnight or something like that. So we'll just catch up on Messenger just to make sure that we're in coordination.
Sounds good. I appreciate everyone for coming by and joining in to the exercise this evening. Let's not be hasty in our self-appraisals quite yet. Tomorrow we will have the ability to completely tear ourselves apart fully.
Tomorrow we'll understand why we're scoring it. Tomorrow we'll actually understand why we're doing the scores. Okay, so
Correct. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate every one of you that stopped by. I appreciate everyone keeping it positive. Remember, guys, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. We will see you in the morning about 10 a.m. I'll create a scheduled event for tomorrow. You guys just be looking out for it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you all.
Nice one.
Thank you,
Bye,
Aussie.
everybody. Thank you. Bye.